Anya's boys. Last week. A couple of days before I made this appointment. I heard them fucking. Heard? Helen questioned. Not saw? Yes, heard. Anya paused again, then continued. I was walking past their room and normally they have the music fairly loud. Except this day there was no music, and I could hear the very obvious sounds of two people having sex. You say obvious? Obvious in what way? Helen could see the frustration in Anya's face. That do you really want me to tell you all the gory details? Look. Helen stared her down for a time, then added. It matters. Use any words you like. Tell me exactly what you heard. Okay. Okay. Anya paused to gather her thoughts. Okay. I heard Carl grunting. You know the sound men make as they fuck, grunting in time with each thrust. I know it was him by the sound of the grunt. His voice has mostly broken and Vlad's hasn't yet, so I knew it was him. Okay. What else did you hear? Well, I heard the bed of course, but I also heard Vlad. And with that Anya stopped dead. Helen waited for a while, and when it was obvious that Anya needed a little prompting, heard Vlad what? Was he screaming? Was he crying? Oh, he was screaming all right. I could hear what he was saying plain as day right through the door. And again Anya stopped. Helen waited again. She could see that Anya was fighting back tears. Anya's hand was on the arm of the chair, so Helen reached over and held it for what seemed like an eternity. Finally Anya plucked up the courage to finish the story. He was screaming harder, harder, harder. The more intense Carl's grunting got, the more he screamed for more. With this Anya broke down sobbing, her forehead on Helen's outstretched hand. Helen had organized for Anya to sit at one end of a two-seater lounge. She had had problems like this in the past. Quietly and gently Helen moved next to Anya and held her until she calmed a little. When Anya was quiet Helen continued. What does your husband think of all this? Oh, Branko won't be home for another couple of weeks. Anya replied, forgetting that Helen did not know anything of Branko's circumstances. When Anya saw the vacant look on Helen's face she elaborated. Oh, sorry. Branko is a diesel engineer. He works on contract to mines around the world. He can be away for 2 to 3 months at a stretch. He's in Chile and Peru at the moment. He is due back in a little over 2 weeks' time. That must be hard. On you and the boys. Yeah, a little. But the money is great, and when he comes home he gets to do nothing for 4 to 5 weeks. If it lines up with school vacations he takes us to some pretty cool places. So you are going to tell him about the boys when he returns? Helen ventured. That's the plan. Anya paused, then added, I was kinda hoping you could help with that. Perhaps. Probably. But before we get to that stage I need to know more of what is going on. Helen paused a little then asked, earlier on you said both. I think I've heard the big news. What are the other things that make you think the boys are gay? Then before Anya could answer ... not that I think that being gay is a problem in this context. I'm more interested in how two boys of this age got to this point. I think I can answer that. Now that the hard part was over, Anya seemed a lot happier. The boys sleep together, and I mean sleep. They share a bed. They have been doing that since. Well, since forever really. I think it started when Vlad was about 4. Did they share a bedroom? Yes. At that stage they did. We moved into our current home about a year later and we split the boys at that time. But it didn't stop the nighttime bed switches. We would put them to sleep in their own beds, and sure as shootin', Vlad would be in Carl's bed the next morning. Did you try and stop it? Punish them in some way? Oh, we tried. We tried all sorts of things. But short of locking them in their rooms or handcuffing them to their beds, nothing worked. So you gave up? Yeah. I guess that was wrong, but we didn't know what to do at the time. We figured they'd just grow out of it. And they didn't. You said they are still sharing a bed? Correct. But there's more. Anya paused for a second to find the right words. We started to find them in various states of undress. First it was the pajama shirts, then sometimes the pants as well. By the time Vlad was about 7 they were both sleeping naked every night. And then interrupting Helen before she could speak, Anya continued ... and before you ask. Yes. We tried everything to stop that as well. Actually, I wasn't going to ask about that. I guessed you would have. My question was it Vlad that always went to Carl's bed? Yes, but we could tell that Carl was always in on it. Anya waited for a second then added, there's more. One more question first. The sleeping naked bit. This was before Carl entered puberty. Yes. Okay. Continue. Well, a year or two later. So about almost 3 years ago, the boys were getting bigger and Carl's single bed was getting a bit small for them. They asked if we would buy a bigger bed and we flatly refused. We could have afforded it, but we thought it might be a good way to force Glenn back into the unused bed in his room. And did it? No, of course not. They found another solution. A few days after Branko left on one of his shifts, the boys started to slip into the double bed in our guest bedroom. They tried to be sneaky at first, waking early and ducking back into Carl's room before I woke up. But they didn't do a good enough job making the guest bed and I noticed. So the next morning I set an early alarm and caught them still asleep. So what happened? Oh, they pleaded with me. They promised that they would go back to their own rooms if we had anyone sleeping over. And being the bleeding heart that I am, I relented. And so now it's permanent? Basically, yes. Vlad has his own room which he uses for study and all his clothes are there. Same for Carl. But each night they both scurry, butt naked, into the guest room for sleep. Anya paused for just half a second then added ... and sex, I guess. And you overheard them having sex in the guest room? Yes ... and I guess the other reason they like that room, now that I've thought about it, is that it has its own bathroom and suite. Okay. If you want me to help break the news to your husband, I will need to talk to the boys. Helen paused without you. Anya sat silently for a moment, taking in the idea of giving her boys to Helen. In case you are wondering, I see a lot of kids come through here. Most times it is not under nearly as pleasant circumstances as yours. I see far too many young girls, and some young boys, raped by their fathers and uncles and sometimes their brothers. And sometimes it's the mothers, but not often. Anya remained silent. What I need to do is find out exactly how far they have gone. Whether it is all one way. Whether there has been any psychological or physical damage done. Once I've done that, once they have spilled the beans in their own words, you and I will meet again and discuss a way forward. Okay? Okay. Good. Now I might need them for a longer session. This could take a little while. So how about you bring them around after school and go do some window shopping nearby? Make sure your cell phone is on and I'll call you when I'm done. Sound like a plan? Okay. Anya was more definite this time. Helen had walked to her desk and what was flicking through her diary. How about Thursday? I was scheduled to go to court all day, but I found out this morning that the lowlife confessed and so I won't be needed. Okay. What do I tell the boys? That's a little tricky. Helen paused to collect her thoughts. Tell them nothing until Thursday. On the way to school, tell them that you all need to go somewhere, but don't tell them where. Just tell them not to make any plans with their friends. Come direct here and park outside. Then tell them that you are still a little concerned that they are sleeping together and that you would like them to talk it through with someone independent. If you have any problems in the car, just call me from your cell. Okay? Okay. I think I can manage that. I want you to accompany them inside, but no further than the waiting room. Once I tell you that everything is fine, and that you should go shopping, I want you to disappear. Just walk straight to your car and drive. Okay? Okay. Now assuming everything goes as planned, I will want to see you again a few days later. Helen flipped through her diary again. How about the following Monday? Just after lunch. Say 1 o'clock. What time do you pick up the boys? Or can they find their own way home? Yeah, they can walk home. They bitch and scream, but they can do it. Should I ask them to walk home in case we get caught up? Yes please. That would be great. Helen paused a little then added the boys. Nothing I need to know. No allergies? No other health problems? No. All good in that respect. And Carl is 14 and Vlad, well, I guess I'll be able to tell them apart by size. Oh yes. Carl takes after his father. He's a much bigger boy than Vlad. That was part of my worry. And just for the record. Yours and Branko's ages. I am 34 and Branko is 38. Does that matter somehow? Anya was a little puzzled. Helen smiled widely. No, not at all. I was just looking at how fit you looked and I was wondering how many years you had on me. Nothing to do with the boys. Just my own vanity. Well, thank you. I have to stay fit to keep up with Branko. You wait till you meet him, minus 6 feet 2 inches and about 220 pounds, and a big pussy cat. Both women had been walking to the door as they spoke. By the time the door closed behind her, Anya had been with Helen for almost 2 hours.